Commander Alara Chen stood tall on the polished floor of the High Council chamber. Before her, 7 alien delegates sat in silent judgment. Their pale, translucent skin glowed under soft lights. Every human in the room held their breath, hearts beating like drums. Ilara's uniform was crisp and her stance proud, but inside fear gnawed at her. She remembered the message they carried: stop your spread or face exile. Now she faced the moment of truth. The chamber doors closed with a soft hum. Outside, the human fleet waited at the galaxy's edge. On those ships were families who built homes on new worlds. Engineers, farmers, children, everyone trusted Alara to speak for them. In her hand, she clutched a data crystal filled with proof of change. She had traveled light years to show the Council how humans learned from their mistakes. Ilara's voice trembled as she began. Honored delegates, we come before you with respect. We know our history is fraught with harm. We terraformed without thought. We mined until worlds cried out. For this, we are sorry. She paused. A single tear rolled down her cheek. She wiped it swiftly. The council members did not flinch. They had seen worse. Last cycle, you warned us. Cease expansion or leave your homes behind, Alara continued. We accepted your judgment. We have listened. On our worlds beyond your borders, we halted all new settlements. We restored damaged ecosystems. We taught our children the value of each life. She held up the crystal. These records show how communities healed barren lands, how they welcomed native species back. We carry this evidence with humility and hope. A murmur rippled through the chamber. One delegate leaned forward, amber eyes curious. Alara felt a spark of relief. She pressed on, voice firm. We beg you, allow us to remain within the galaxy. Give us a chance to prove our promise. We will serve as guardians of life, not destroyers. We will learn from other species and share our own strengths in return. Silence returned, heavier now. The chief delegate, cloaked in silver robes, raised a slender hand. Your words are poetic, human, the voice rang, cool and distant. Yet words alone do not heal worlds. Ilara's heart sank. She closed her eyes and pictured her home planet, green forests now dying, rivers once pure, now muddy. She vowed to herself that they would rise from exile stronger. When she opened her eyes, she spoke softer. We understand your doubt. We ask only for time. Her gaze swept the chamber. Time to rebuild trust. Time to show that humans can become stewards of every world we touch. The crystal pulsed in her hand, the light inside flickering like a fragile hope. The chamber lights dimmed. A deep voice echoed. The council will deliberate. The doors slid open. Alara lowered her head and stepped back, allowing the delegates to exit first. As they left, their silent forms vanished into corridors of crystal. Alara turned to Ward, the human envoy waiting behind her, gave her a steady nod. Outside the chamber, the vast windows revealed the blackness dotted with stars. The human fleet gleamed like scattered fireflies. Families gazed up, trusting the council's decision. Lara steadied her breath. She whispered, "We did all we could." Yet in her heart burned the promise. If the council refused, humanity would forge a new path, one born of pain, but shaped by lessons learned. As the council deliberated, Alara walked to the window. She placed her palm on the cool glass, eyes shining with determination. "You warned us once," she murmured to the void. "We heard you. Now the galaxy will see who we truly are." In that silent moment, the fate of billions balanced on a single verdict and on humanity's will to change. Human ships slipped through the void like lost fireflies. Beneath the star-speckled black, families clung to hope and fear. Each vessel carried homes unmade, dreams uprooted. On Bridge Alpha, Lieutenant Mara Vega watched the silent stars, pressed her hand to the cold glass, and remembered her childhood planet now abandoned. She felt a sharp ache in her chest. Around her, the crew held similar losses deep inside, yet none spoke of pain. They all shared one unspoken command: survive. Below decks, children whispered questions. Why did they send us away? Small boy asked his sister, wrapped her arms around him, voice gentle but uncertain. They thought we were dangerous. She replied, but we will learn to be good. In makeshift classrooms, teachers read stories of Earth's green forests and blue seas. They taught respect for life and for other worlds. Young faces shone with curiosity and determination. They sketched new worlds in bright crayons, promising to be better than before. On the cargo decks, farmers tended hydroponic gardens. Sprouts of lettuce, basil, and strawberries grew under artificial lights. Engineer Dow Patel checked nutrient levels. Worry furrowed across his brow. Resources were limited. He balanced water, power, and oxygen like a tightrope walker. If a single system failed, a settlement would starve. Visitors glimpsed his quiet determination and shared tips to stretch supplies. In those collaborations, humans discovered a new strength, unity born from exile. At New Dawn Station, built around a dim red dwarf, a council of settlers gathered weekly. They spoke of hardship, food shortages, equipment failures, loneliness. Yet each meeting ended with plans to improve life. They repaired broken hull panels, designed water recyclers, and planted trees in soil pods. The station's central dome grew greener each day. Marigolds and ferns curled toward the light. Visitors said the dome glowed like a sun of its own. In that warmth, hearts healed bit by bit. Commander Alara Chen traveled between stations, her presence a light in dark times. She listened to stories of loss, parents mourning lost children, elders longing for vanished skylines. She carried with her a message carved into every mind: we were warned, ignored. Now we must change. She shared strategies to heal planets, seeding oxygen-producing algae, storing mineral cycles, and protecting native life. In return, settlers gave her hope. They showed her photos of blooming gardens and thriving animal herds. One evening, as a blood-red sun set over New Dawn's horizon, Ilara stood atop the central spire. Below, children played among flower beds, their laughter echoing against metal walls. She closed her eyes and breathed the humid, plant-filled air. She felt peace, mixed with sorrow for worlds lost and pride in worlds saved. Somewhere in the void, the Council watched transmissions from Exile Fleet. Rumors of human change drifted. Back, gardens and asteroid belts, rivers running again on broken moons. Alara dared to imagine a future with that council. Still, nights were the hardest. In the ever-shifting darkness, settlers remembered home skies filled with familiar stars. On many ships, memorial walls held photographs of lost planets. Each image told a story of hope or grief. But beside those walls, lamps shone on saplings grown from Earth's seeds. Beneath each young tree lay a note: for tomorrow, humans found comfort in new growth. They planted seeds of promise in exile soil, determined that one day those saplings would bloom under the stars they once called home. On the shattered surface of Epsilon V, young scientist Amir Sela brushed dust from an ancient stone tablet. It lay half-buried beneath the ruins of a long-dead city. The sky above was a dull gray, and the wind carried fine ash that stung his eyes. All around him, the landscape was scarred by wars long since ended. Amir felt a deep sorrow for worlds lost, yet as he wiped the last of the dirt away, he saw symbols that pulsed with promise, a map to old archives hidden beneath the planets. Soil. Amir gathered a small team of engineers and historians. Together, they pried open the heavy hatch of a buried vault. Inside, crystalline pillars glowed with holographic records of a vanished people who once thrived in harmony with their home. The archives told stories of living forests woven into cities, of rivers that ran clear as crystal, and of creatures welcomed as friends rather than conquered. Amir's heart raced. He realized this knowledge could change humanity's path. Word of the discovery spread across the exile fleet like wildfire. On every ship and station, people paused their tasks to watch the archive's images. Colonists leaned forward as holograms showed how that long-lost civilization weathered cataclysms by listening to the land. They learned to share resources, to nurture native life, and to heal wounds rather than deepen them. In crowded common rooms, Families held each other's hands and whispered, "We can do this too." Commander Alara Chen received Amir's transmission while aboard the flagship, Aurora's bridge. She pressed her lips together in a thin line of hope. For months, she had worked tirelessly to show the Council that humans could change. Now, proof glowed in the void, a guidebook for planetary restoration written by another species, she ordered. The transmission relayed to every settlement. "Study these lessons," she commanded. "Apply them. Show the galaxy our true hearts." Across the void in the hydroponic gardens of Orion's Rest, Farmer Lena Delgado tended her lilies. The archive's light flickered on her screen. She paused mid-water. She watched images of trees whose roots cleaned polluted air, of birds returning to reclaimed wetlands. Moved by tears, she knelt in the dirt and pressed her forehead to the soil pod. "We will follow this," she vowed softly. Out new plans to integrate native species into her station's ecosystem. In the engineering bays of New Dawn Station, mechanics adapted salvaged parts to build bioengineered soil reactors. These reactors could melt ice beneath barren crusts, releasing water to nourish newly sown seeds. Technician Omar Rahim tested his prototype under the hum of machinery. When it worked, water trickled onto dry soil and the green of moss appeared. Cheers erupted among the crew. They had created life where once there was only death. Even in the darkest corners of exile, hope brightened hearts. Children who once feared a future of drifting ships now dreamed of forests and fields. In schools, teachers replaced grim histories with lessons from the archives. Classrooms filled with art. Drawings of planets revived, of butterflies dancing in sunlight. Young voices recited pledges to honor life, to walk gently on every world they touched. Their simple promise carried power greater than any weapon. Far beyond exile's frontier, council chambers on Archon Prime trembled with each new human broadcast. Elder Marcos watched the images of renewal and wondered, could humans truly become stewards? He remembered the day they banished humanity for carelessness. His chest tightened with regret. As he listened to the hopeful chatter of his fellow delegates, he sensed that a single spark of defiance Mir's discovery might yet light the way back. But would the council dare to admit they were wrong? In the endless darkness, humanity found its greatest strength, a shared vision of healing. On each station and ship, people labored side by side, scientists with farmers, engineers with children, transforming ash into green. Amir Salah's archives had ignited a flame of defiance, not against the council, but against despair itself. And in that unity, humans saw the promise of returning, not as conquerors, but as caretakers of a galaxy they had once wounded. On Archon Prime's soaring towers, Council Elder Marcos gazed down at the swirling storms below. Centuries of human terraforming had altered weather patterns, leaving strange, violent winds over plains that once lay calm. Marcos felt hollow ache in his chest as he remembered the day they banished humanity. He had stood in this very chamber and decreed their exile. Now he wondered if that decree was a mistake. Inside the crystal chamber, 7 delegates sat in judgment once more. Hues of violet and amber light danced across their translucent skin as human broadcasts flickered on holoscreens. The images showed green forests growing on dead moons and rivers flowing where there had been none. Some delegates leaned forward, eyes wide with wonder. Others turned away, arms crossed against the tear in their treaty. Delegate Theron, known for his stern judgment, broke the silence. His voice rang like wind chimes in a storm. "These images are moving," he said, "yet we must remember why we banished them. We watched them rip worlds apart without care." He tapped a slender finger on his datapad, displaying scars from human mining. "Can we trust that this change is real and lasting?" Across the table, Yosha of the Lavari people spoke softly. "We see hope in their actions," she said, voice trembling with emotion. "They learned from another species' wisdom. They rebuild what they broke. Should we not honor such humility?" Her gentle plea echoed in the chamber. Marcos watched Yosha's pale eyes fill with tears. Even the hardest heart could soften at such sincerity. Outside, lightning split the sky. Storm clouds rolled across the horizon as if reflecting the delegates' turmoil. Thunder rumbled like distant war horns. In that moment, Marcos understood the storm was not only in the sky, but in his own conscience. He rose, robes whispering, against the polished floor. "We have always prized order and justice," he began. "Yet true justice requires mercy." His words trembled with both fear and hope. Theron's jaw clenched. "Mercy's earned, not given lightly," he snapped. "They had centuries to heed our warning. It shows recklessness." Delegate Carew, silent until now, shook his head. "And what of our own mistakes?" he asked. "We failed to teach them respect before banishment. We cut them off instead of guiding them." A hush fell as the room absorbed this unexpected truth. Marcos took a steady breath. "I propose a vote," he said. "Not to erase our laws, but to test our willingness to forgive." He looked at each delegate. Some faces softened, others hardened. All felt the weight of history pressing upon them. The chief delegate's voice echoed through the chamber. "Very well, Elder Marcos. We will vote, but we convene in secret. No human shall know until we decide." As the holoscreens dimmed, Yosha whispered to Marcos, "May our choice be guided by wisdom, not pride." He nodded. The delegates stood and drifted into hidden corridors. The chamber doors closed with a low hum, sealing themselves from the human fleets beyond the rim. Far away, Commander Alara Chen watched council transmissions fade. She sensed uncertainty in their voices. Hope flickered in her chest like a candle. In the wind, yet she remembered her promise. Humans would heal their wrongs no matter the cost. On Arkan Prime, storms raged through the night. Inside the secret conclave, delegates prepared to cast their votes. Each carried memories of pain and glimpses of hope. In the chamber's cold silence, the fate of humanity and the galaxy hung, trembling between mercy and judgment. When the cry went up aboard the light freighter Verdant Dawn, all eyes turned to the cargo hold. Inside lay the last living seed of Earth's ancient world tree, a sapling carried in a glass vial, its roots curled around nutrient gel, and its tiny leaves pressed against the glass like longing hands. Scientist Amir Sela held the vial with reverence.
"Oh."
In that fragile sprout, he saw humanity's plea for a second chance. Commander Alara Chen summoned her captains to the Aurora's war room. Holograms of council warships blocked the galactic border ahead. "We carry no weapons," she said, voice steady. "Only life." She placed the seed vial on the central console. Its green glow filled the dim room with warmth. Engineers scratched their beards and soldiers exchanged uncertain glances. None had ever seen such a gift offered so openly to their judges. At the rim, council forces hailed the human fleet. Cold voices demanded they turn back immediately. Alara opened the channel, heart pounding. "Council delegates," she began, "we present this seed as our promise. We will nurture life, not destroy it. If you let us return, we will heal every world we touched." Static crackled, then silence. The council's stern facade seemed to shift at the gentle green glow on the screen. Within the council's flagship, Chancellor Solane paced the marble deck. Delegates crowded around the hollow projection of the seed. Their amber eyes softened as they watched its tendrils quiver. Solane recalled the humans' past crimes-ravaged planets and scorched moons. Yet here was hope made flesh, a living emblem of renewal. "Could this be true?" she whispered. Some delegates wept at the sight, tears of wonder slipping down pale cheeks. Back on the Aurora, Alara stood before her crew. "This moment defines us," she said softly. "Not by the worlds we once broke, but by the lives we choose to save." Soldiers unclipped their weapons and stored them away. Engineers knelt before hydroponic trays and adjusted nutrient flows. Even the youngest cadets placed saplings into small pots, their fingers gentle as prayer. In every heart, hope grew stronger than fear. Council warships lowered their shields, a gesture of cautious welcome. Human ships mirrored the move. When the fleets drifted close, Ilara piloted a shuttle into the council flagship's docking bay. In the silent corridor, she carried the seed toward the Grand Council chamber. Guarded eyes watched every step, yet no soldier raised a weapon. Together, they walked through corridors forged in glass and light in the chamber. Delegates stood behind crystalline benches. Lara approached the dais and placed the vial in a carved alcove. Solane inhaled the faint scent of earth carried through the glass. "This gift," Solane said, voice trembling, "speaks of courage we did not expect." She turned to her fellow delegates. "Let us choose mercy." A hush fell as she reached for the vote activator. Outside, human and council crews watched the broadcast. On the Aurora's bridge, Mara Vega held her breath. A single green light flickered on the council's vote grid. Approve, then another and another, until all diamonds glowed in emerald. Cheers erupted in both fleets. Bridges filled with tears and laughter as humanity's exile loomed behind them. The seed's light had pierced the council's resolve and broken the final barrier. When the doors to the chamber slid open, Ilara stepped into sunlight streaming through stained glass. Delegates waited with bowed heads and outstretched branches, flowers gifted to humanity as tokens of peace. Ilara knelt before Solane and bowed her head. "Thank you," she whispered. The two clasped hands across worlds of pain and hope. As the shuttle lifted off, carrying the seed back to the Aurora, the galaxy watched. In exile's shadow, a single act of humility had turned doubt into unity. Humanity would return not as conquerors, but as gardeners of life. And in every world, they would plant seeds of promise so no one would ever forget the power of change. Under the pale morning sun of Archon Prime, human and council engineers worked side by side. Now towers once silent, now hummed with activity as water pipelines were repaired. On one scaffold, human technician Lena Delgado guided council engineer Thaler in adjusting a purifier. Thaler's slender fingers trembled at first, unfamiliar with human tools. Lena smiled gently. "Take your time," she said. Together, they threaded pipes that would carry clean water to 500,000 people. In that shared labor, both learned trust. Across the city, children from human colonies and Archon Prime schools planted saplings along the central boulevard. Tiny hands wrapped soil around fragile roots, careful not to harm them. Council teachers recited the history of each tree species in soft voices, explaining how humans had once gone extinct without caring for their planet. Human children listened, with wide eyes, and promised in unison, "We will protect these trees forever." Laughter broke the solemnity, and birds alighted on the new branches as if to bless the moment. In the rebuilt greenhouse district, vats of algae glowed bright green. Scientist Amir Sela and council biologist Yosha analyzed samples under glowing microscopes. They discovered a new strain that could speed oxygen production tenfold. "Age. This will revive dead planets faster," Amir said, voice heavy with joy. Yosha placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "You have given us hope," she whispered. Together, they sketched plans to send the strain to human colonies still in exile, promising renewal across the void. Commander Ilara Chen stood on a balcony, overlooking the restored riverbanks. Once the rivers ran muddy, choked by human industry. Crystal water wound between flowering meadows. Families picnicked on grassy banks, children chasing council flitters small, winged creatures that returned when the rivers healed. Lara closed her eyes and felt the breeze carry sweet scents of jasmine and pine. She allowed herself a moment of peace, knowing this beauty would never be taken for granted again. On the Aurora's bridge, Lieutenant Mara Vega monitored incoming transmissions from human worlds beyond Archon Prime, one by one. Settlements reported success, oxygen levels rising, crops flourishing, wildlife returning. Each report ended with a promise: "We stand ready to return home." Mara pressed her hand to the console, tears shining in her eyes. She thought of the long nights in exile, the fear and the hunger. Now hope danced through her veins. She spoke quietly to the console. "Tell them, we will be there soon." In the Hall of Records, council scribes and human archivists cataloged centuries of history, mistakes and triumphs. Under the tall, domed ceiling, they placed new tomes beside ancient volumes. Human historian Taro Singh read aloud stories of the world tree's seed and its journey across the void. Council scribe Karu transcribed every word with reverence. Future generations will learn from this, Karu said. Taro nodded. They will know that even broken worlds can heal with unity. That evening in the Grand Plaza, a joint ceremony was held. Ilara and Chancellor Soline stood before a crowd of thousands. Lanterns floated into the sky, each carrying a wish for peace. Ilara spoke first. We were banished for our pride. In exile, we found humility. We learned to nurture life. Soline continued. We doubted you, showed us your true spirit. Together we will build a galaxy where all life thrives. As their voices blended, lanterns shimmered like distant stars, illuminating faces filled with hope. Under the same sky, across the void, exiled families watched the broadcast. Tears rolled down cheeks as they realized their long journey was nearly over. Children pointed at the floating lights and asked when they could visit Arkan Prime. Parents hugged them close, whispering, soon, my love. We will go home soon. At every settlement, preparations began. Ships were repaired, gardens packed in containers, and memories of exile folded gently into hearts ready for a new beginning. In that shared moment, a single truth resonated across worlds. Forgiveness had rebuilt trust, and trust had rekindled life.
Ow.
The galaxy's wounds, once deep and bleeding, now glowed with fresh growth. Humanity and alien allies stood hand in hand beneath starlight, ready to walk forward together. And as the lanterns faded into the night sky, the promise of lasting peace shone brighter than any star. Under the soft light of Arkan Prime's twin suns, the human fleet drifted back into familiar space. Ships once weary from exile now gleamed with fresh paint and stocked supplies. Families crowded viewing ports, faces pressed against glass as the planet below grew larger. Children squealed in delight, pointing at rivers and forests they had only seen in holoscreens. Parents held hands, tears of joy tracing gentle paths down their cheeks. In every heart, hope bloomed anew. Commander Ilara Chen stood on the Auroras. Observation deck. Beside her, Lieutenant Mara Vega adjusted navigation controls for re-entry. Ilara's uniform bore the insignia of both human and council cooperation, a silver leaf intertwined with a star. She traced it with her finger, remembering the long years of exile. She felt the ache of lost worlds, but also the warmth of lessons learned. We return not as conquerors, she whispered to Mara, but as guardians. As the fleet descended, council vessels formed an escort. Their alien hulls shimmered in the sunlight, symbols of unity rather than division. Elders and diplomats waved from open bridges. Among them was Chancellor Soline, standing tall beside Elder Marcos and Delegate Yosha. When Ilara's shuttle landed in the central plaza, a chorus of cheers rose. Humans and aliens embraced, laughter and tears mixing in the balmy air. The seed of Earth's world tree stood at the center, now a young sapling planted in sacred soil. In the plaza's heart, Ilara and Soline faced the gathered crowd. Ilara inhaled the scent of wildflowers planted by council gardeners. She saw former exiles, their faces alight with wonder and native Arkans, their expressions soft with empathy. Ilara's voice rang clear. We were banished for our mistakes. Exile taught us humility and strength. Today we stand together to heal this world and every world we touch. The crowd erupted in applause, yet her words carried weight beyond celebration. Chancellor Soline stepped forward, amber eyes bright with compassion. The council's choice to forgive was guided by humanity's courage, she said. Today, we forge a bond stronger than any treaty. Let us share our knowledge, our cultures, and our dreams. From this day, no species will stand alone in the void. Councilor Blighters released glowing petals into the air, drifting like fireflies among the crowd. Each petal carried a vow of cooperation, landing softly on shoulders and grass. Evening lanterns floated above the city's rebuilt fountains. Humans and aliens dined together, sharing foods once foreign and now cherished. Arkan spice mingled with earth grain in steaming bowls. Children taught each other songs in both languages, their laughter echoing through marble corridors. In the council library, human historians and alien scribes began a new chronicle, the United Records, documenting both past wrongs and shared victories. Back on the Aurora, Amir, Sayla, and Yosha released the final algae strain into bioreactors, bound for distant colonies. As they watched green currents swirl to life, Amir gripped Yosha's hand. "We carried a seed across the void," he said. "Now we carry friendship," she smiled, her translucent skin glowing under soft lamps. Together, they set course for worlds still in exile, bearing not only science but trust. Under the night. Sky Arkan Prime's horizons glowed with renewed life. Stars shimmered overhead, their light now untainted by human hubris. In villages beyond the capital, fields planted by exiles swayed in gentle breeze. Rivers brimming with fish sang songs of return. From cliffs overlooking the sea, humans and Arkans watched the dawn of a shared tomorrow. And so humanity's exile ended not with vengeance, but with empathy. They returned humbled, carrying lessons of respect and unity. The galaxy, once torn by fear, now thrived in harmony. In every forest, every river, and every heartbeat, the promise of lasting peace shone brighter than any star, testament to the power of change and the strength found in forgiveness.